wondered about the illustrious history of the Achaemenids? Have you ever sat down to a plate of kebab at your favorite Persian restaurant and wondered, what kind of genius came up with this fatty, succulent glory roasted on a stick? If you have, then stick around, because with a bit of imperial rule and some ancient Persian knowledge, you'll have everything you want to know about the Achaemenids.
The Persian Empire is an ancient civilization rich with an illustrious history as one of the richest and most powerful empires in the ancient world. The Persian Empire rose and fell with its many dynasties, but it was first created under the reign of the Achaemenids.
That sounds wicked. Could you tell me more about them?
Of course. Come with me. The Achaemenid Empire was established in 553 BCE when Cyrus the Great rebelled against the Medes. Medes were of Aryan origin and lived in northwestern Iran. 539 BCE is where things really get interesting. Cyrus, by this time, had conquered Babylon and now had complete control over the Fertile Crescent. In the green, you will see the full extent of the early Achaemenid Empire.
And why is that important?
Well, there's two reasons why it's important. One, any land conquered is useful in an empire due to an enlarging ruled population, exacting tribute from conquered territory, and gaining soldiers for the militia. Two, the Fertile Crescent was an exceptionally, forgive my pun, fertile place. It was perfect for growing lots of food, and the Tigris and Euphrates rivers allowed for easy travel and subsequent trade with other areas. And it didn't just stop there. Let's backtrack to 546 BCE, when Cyrus defeated Croesus, the Lydian king, and gained control of the Aegean coast, Asia Minor, Armenia, and the Greek colonies along the Levant. Moving east, he took Parthia, Chorasmia, and Bactria.
As I mentioned, he captured Babylon in 539, but he also freed the Jews being held captive there. By doing so, he was immortalized in the book of Isaiah. By the time he died in 529, Cyrus's empire stretched as far as east of the Hindu Kush Mountains in Afghanistan.
Whoa, hold on. Who exactly is this Cyrus the Great?
Well, from what I know, Cyrus was a Persian king who ruled a lot of people. I'm pretty sure he was so great because he was strong and wise. He had a tendency to be accepting of his people's beliefs and customs.
That's right. Cyrus was also known as the Great King, King of Persia, King of Anshan, King of Media, King of Babylon, King of Sumer and Akkad, and the King of the Four Corners of the World. All of these titles suited him perfectly. Xenophon once even wrote, "And those who were subject to him he treated with esteem and regard, and as if they were his own children. While his subjects themselves respected Cyrus as their father, what other man but Cyrus, having overturned an empire, ever died with the title of father from the people he had brought under his power? For it is plain fact that this is the name for one bestows, rather than one that takes away."
Hey, didn't Cyrus's reign last 29 to 31 years, and during that time his kingdom prospered and became the largest empire that the world had ever seen?
How big exactly?
Cyrus' kingdom stretched from southwest Asia, Central Asia, and the Caucasus, from the Mediterranean Sea and Hellespont Point in the west, Indus River in the east. Cyrus founded the empire as a multi-state empire governed by 4 capital states, Paras-Gede, Babylon, Susa, and Ecbatana. He followed a certain amount of regional autonomy in each state in the form of a satrapy system. A satrapy is an administrative unit usually organized on a geographical basis. A satrap, or governor, is the vassal who administered the region and a general supervised military recruitment and ensued order. And the state secretary kept official records. The general and the state secretary reported directly with the satrap as well as the central government.
Man, I never knew you guys knew so much about the Persian Empire. Tell me more. Like, how did they live? And did the conquered territories live like the Achaemenids? Oh, what were their major accomplishments besides conquering territory?
Hold your horses. We'll get to that.
The empire was the largest of its time, and therefore could not be governed by one man alone. So Darius employed the satrap system, as spoken about before. Darius, on his command, he mounted couriers, and they could reach remote areas in almost 15 days by horseback. The Greek scholar Herodotus, speaking of the Persian postal system, said, Neither rain, snow, heat, nor rain, or darkness of night could prevent them from accomplishing the task proposed to them at the very utmost of speed. Despite relative independence afforded by the satrapy system, however, royal inspectors, or the eyes and ears of the king, toured the empire and reported on local conditions. The king maintained a personal bodyguard of 10,000 men he called the Immortals.
Tell me about the Achaemenids culture.
The Achaemenids? Well, their trade was dominant in their culture and quite extensive. Darius revolutionized trade by using a silver and gold system. Trade along the official roads facilitated the exchange of commodities along far reaches of the empire. As a result of commercial activity, Persian words for typical trade items became prevalent throughout the Middle East, such as bazaar, shawl, sash, turquoise, and tiara. Along with trade, agriculture and tribute were great sources of revenue. Art and architecture were both distinctive and highly eclectic. The Achaemenids compiled many different styles to make their unique style of art and architecture. Cyrus the Great was the individual leader who melded together the unique artistic styles of the empires he conquered, creating a strong and prosperous society. Intricate patterns such as these tapestries have influences from the Greek and Egyptians, as well as other provinces of the Persian Empire. The Achaemenids evolved a monumental style in which relief sculpture is used as an adjunct to massive architectural complexes.
What were some other examples of their art and architecture?
Well, one of the Achaemenids' crowning accomplishments was Persepolis, the capital of the Achaemenid Empire. This city was quoted by Diodorus, another ancient Greek historian, as the wealthiest city under the sun. This jewel of a city was not created for religious or strategic purposes. Darius literally created Persepolis to show off the wealth of his empire. The large glossy stone was put there to symbolize the hearts and minds of the Achaemenid people, and the magnitude of the doors and statues were meant to give visitors a sense of perfection. Needless to say, Darius was a little narcissistic.
Sounds beautiful.
Sounds expensive.
I'm sure it was. Persepolis covered almost a fourth of the empire. Darius also pursued the construction of Persepolis with paid laborers as opposed to a forced labor system. These were not just any laborers either. Darius hired an equal amount of men as women, and the workers were specialists in their specific expertise. They used their expertise to contribute to the craft of the building of the greater glory of Persepolis.
Wow, so were there any other achievements made by the Achaemenids?
You bet there were. Another major achievement in their art history would be the Achaemenids' use of cuneiform in literature. Cuneiform is a system of writing developed before the last centuries of the 4th millennium BCE in the Tigris and Euphrates Valley, probably by the Sumerians. This period is also known for a great flourishing of Persian art and architecture.
Wow, that makes sense considering the empires they conquered and the eagerness to trade.
Exactly. Oh, another great example of their art and architecture would be Darius's gardens. Come with me! Darius spent much of his leisure time creating designs for many parks and gardens in the Achaemenid Empire. Many modern parks and gardens are designed after Darius's revolutionary techniques. Notice the geometrical design used in this Lita Thompson Memorial Garden. You see, there is one central location in the center, and there are pivots coming out from the side, and there is a large pavilion. The pavilion was used in many of Darius's techniques to create height in his gardens. These techniques are all used in many gardens today, and we have this thanks to Darius. Thanks, Darius!
What were their religious tenets like?
The Achaemenids were of Zoroastric faith. Zoroastrianism is a pantheon-based religion centered around one single creator. It is basically the precursor to Islamic faith and has been in existence since the early 6th century. Under the Achaemenids, Zoroastrianism morphed into an imperialistic religion. Cyrus's personal philosophies are still somewhat of an enigma since he recognized and incorporated the religions of those he conquered into a growing empire. Darius, however, was a hardcore Zoroastrian. He put inscriptions into his great rock, actively testifying to his faith, and he speaks almost incessantly of his great lord. The major difference between Zoroastrianism of Cyrus's reign and Darius' Zoroastrianism is that Darius the Great changed his version of Zoroastrianism to fit his own political outlook. he revised his tenets of the religion to fit that of an imperial cult. In other words, screw everything Cyrus said. Darius is here to rule and has no tolerance for other religious beliefs. Darius began a practice that would later become codified Zoroastrian liturgy and practice.
Wow, sounds like Darius and Cyrus had a major impact on the development of the Persian Empire.
Oh, you bet they did. But the Achaemenid Empire saw many other rulers during the course of its reign. The Achaemenid rulers after Cyrus include Cambyses II, the impostor Smerdis, Darius I, Xerxes I, Atardarces I, Xerxes II, and Song Dionysus.
Wow, if they were such a big deal, how come we don't hear about them anymore?
Well, they were such an interesting and influential society. Unfortunately, their rule has been somewhat forgotten in the history books. But with a little information and some Persian education, I'm sure people will come to remember the Achaemenids.